Welcome to our webinar that is dedicated to exploring the latest pharma trends for 2024. I have the distinct privilege to moderate this event featuring 3 distinguished guest speakers, which I will briefly introduce prior to our interactive discussion. First, please allow me to welcome Dr. Kautar Libyati. She served for more than a decade in global and regional leadership roles at Amgen, Sanofi, GlaxoSmithKline, and AstraZeneca in the US, Europe, UK, Middle East, and North Africa, with a focus on medical affairs, strategic planning, market access, health economics, and outcomes research across various stages of the drug development lifecycle. Since 2022, she has been on the board of Hepion Pharmaceuticals, where she currently chairs the Strategic Planning Committee and is a member of the Audit, Science, Nomination, and Governance Committees. And now please allow me to introduce you to Arijit Chatterjee, an accomplished leader with more than 2 decades of management and technical experience at the intersection of business and technology within the entire value chain of a traditional pharma and biotech company. He's a senior director with Capgemini, a global IT services giant, as he manages a team of solution architects for their pharmaceutical digital solutions. Having worked in various capacities within large pharma IT organizations in Merck and Bristol Myers Squibb, he brings a wealth of experience in driving digital transformation. He is uniquely positioned to be a thought leader who brings the industry experience with broad range of roles that he has played, from being a product manager to a project manager at a large pharma company, and finally taking the role of a digital leader of pharma solutions of an IT service integrator. His strategic vision and leadership have propelled him in current and his past organizations to grab and execute key opportunities in digital for pharma, harnessing data-driven insights to streamline processes in labs, ensure compliance, and accelerate drug development. Last but not least, Yamina Hakim. She's a globally recognized executive with over 3 decades of experience in international business development and information technology in the pharmaceutical and life sciences industries. As the founder and CEO of GlobalReach BI, a consulting company dedicated to strategic intelligence, she has harnessed AI technology to provide client partners with strategic data-driven insights. This innovation has propelled GlobalReach BI to the forefront of the pharmaceutical life sciences industries. And I would like to also mention that prior to founding GlobalReach BI, Yamina had an illustrious career at Thomson Reuters, where she held several key leadership positions. She is currently a member of the board of directors at Pharma and Le Conseiller de Commerce Extérieur de la France, where she provides expert guidance on international trade and economic development. Thank you for joining us. It's a privilege to have all of you here, and I'm very excited about our topic, which I think is hitting the social media news almost every day. So I would love to hear from all of you. What do you think are the top pharma trends that are shaping the industry? And also, which one do you think is the most impactful? Let's start with Kautar, then Arijit, and then Yamina.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. The top 5 biopharma trends in 2024. I would start with the anti-obesity drugs. Number 2 is radiopharmaceuticals or radiopharmaceutical technologies. Number 3 is the antibody drug conjugates or ADCs. And the 4th one would be the cell therapies. And I mean here the CAR Ts in particular, and the allogeneic to be a little bit more specific. The most impactful one is the artificial intelligence and machine learning as applied to drug discovery. I think this will be transformative for the research and development of big pharma, and it is already drawing a lot of deals and financing and partnerships.
Thank you so much. Arijit, what are you seeing?
Actually, Qatar hit the right chords. There's so nicely said, looking at the micro level when it comes to science, the modalities, the areas and therapeutic areas that people are concentrating. I come from, as Professor Ingrid, you said very early, and like how we transition the digital into pharma. And I look at it from a little macro level. So we do see that companies will now require to operate with lower cost and really, really shorter timelines. while maintaining quality and still encouraging innovation, which that is the key mission. And that for most of the biopharma, whether it is a smaller biotech, clinical stage biotech, or even a large pharma. So continuously, I'm seeing that my clients are reimagining how to work digitally, how to work in enabling the digital in their organization. In looking at the macro level, the elements that I see that the trends are definitely an evolving world order change, which is because of the conflict in Ukraine and the Middle East. There is a lot of change in supply chain, both in clinical and commercial supply chain disruptions. That will bring lots of digital imperatives in the area of clinical manufacturing as well as commercial manufacturing, how the sites are operated, how the plants are set up, how the materials are actually shipped and managed across the supply chain. Second, I do see there is an evolving treatment belief system where Qatar actually alluded to a couple of areas where like DNA, messenger RNA, precision treatments, generic therapies like as well as genetic therapies such as cell and gene therapy. These things are coming very, very rapidly. They're coming into phase. We see a lot of in the healthcare side where pharma is getting more and more involved, and more they are traditionally they are very looking at, they have challenges is in the area of how the buyer groups are getting consolidated by distributors, which is putting a lot of pressure in the pharma to be able to run towards the bottom of reducing the cost of drugs. You look at, I don't want to name, people will not be very happy for me to name them, but I would still do that, like the McKessons and the Cardinals and all these distributors, they are consolidating buyer groups and essentially putting a lot of pressure on the traditional biopharma to be able to reduce the costs. And that essentially is causing a lot of challenge in not just in production, as well as getting the drug to the bench side from bench to bedside. And so we do see a lot of imperatives there. And finally, I do see a huge imperative in evolving technologies like AI and democratization of AI in the entire value chain, even in the how molecules are designed, molecules are produced, molecules are qualified, as well as all the way towards the end, how AI and generative AI is going to help traditional pharma to be able to author the CMC as well as regulatory dossiers for FDA submission. How fast? How can they beat their competition in developing those dossiers and generate them faster is also a great use case for AI. So I think Qatar actually hit that very well. So generative AI is definitely, for me, is probably the to me, it is probably the North Star as well as the most glowing star at this point in time, heading into 2024-25.
Thank you so much. Appreciate both of your insights. Yamina, I think you'll agree with AI, so you can't say the same thing. Go ahead.
Most certainly. Hello, everybody. Yes, most certainly, I'm going to agree with the AI. AI is an element that we have implemented, and we will talk about that later on in this discussion. But what I would like to start within the pharma trends, you have covered a lot, obviously, in terms of the cost and in terms of the AI, in terms of the therapeutics, the ADCs, the RLTs, and the focus on that. But there is there are some other elements that the pharma industry and the trends that they are going through, and especially here in the US. Yes, okay, there's an increase in cost in already an industry which is very, very heavy in terms of financial investment. The costs are going even higher now with the inflation and it's the new tax regimens. And we see that all the time, and we hear it from all the big all the pharma in terms of the cost. There's that. The second element that is really important, and especially in the US, is this IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, which is causing a lot of grief to the pharma industry. And initially, the idea was that, okay, there was this list of 10 drugs, and then all the pharma companies even challenged the government on that. And now, last week, we heard that it's not going to be 10, it's not going to be 30, it's going to be 50 drugs being part of this IRA list. So it's really putting a lot of pressure and a lot of uncertainty within this the industry, and a feeling from the government that the government is pulling away from the healthcare and pharma, and especially, and pulling away from innovation. And here we are in an industry whereby innovation is key. If you don't invest, if you are not the first to market, you're not going to be getting back your investment. So basically, there is now, considering those two elements, a lot of refocus, and certainly we see it all the time, is that they are thinking twice how they're going to be spending their R&D dollars, what they are going to pursuing. So the shift is very much into having a more focused strategy, whereby they're going to be divesting on areas that is not of interest to them, and being very focused on their area of interest, of specialty. And the big trend as a result of all this too, is that because they are so reliant on innovation, and that it costs a lot of money to develop and a lot of time, we all know that, is that the easy solution, well, easy in brackets, is very much the M&A. And the big shift was last year. There was a lot of mega merger and acquisitions from the Pfizers, from everybody, from Merck and everybody, huge. And the big difference, and here when we look at what has happened in Q1 2024, certainly is going to be the same, even more, and even more. And the thing is that the difference is, okay, maybe now they are looking at more late stage assets. Before it was more like, okay, early scouting, early identification of new assets so that they can help it develop. Now, there is kind of this sense of urgency whereby, okay, we need innovation, we need it now. So we're going to look at those late stage assets and bring them on board. That's the big trend that I'm saying.
Thank you. So you already addressed question 2 and 3, Amina. So what I'll do now is, because you addressed the challenges and also what companies can do to address the challenges. Maybe, go ahead.
I'd like to add a little bit to what Yamina just said. I fully agree with you. Cost and market access and pricing are big issues. IRA is one of the most challenging areas in the US. We have seen some pulling back from the area of small molecules from many big pharma, namely Pfizer. We have seen many companies such as AstraZeneca and others challenge the government. They lost. Last year, there was an announcement that they have lost. And so, yes, the area of small molecules may get bigger, and innovation may be hindered as a result of that. And that's why we are seeing trends within the trends, just to complete a little bit my answer earlier. So, for example, companies are looking for technologies that are a little bit more complex, and that will delay the time to generification or to biosimilars. And so the third trend that I have mentioned, which is the ADCs, falls into that category. ADCs represent another attribute, which is the easy regulatory path, or what is perceived as an easier regulatory path. And so that's why you see a lot of cross-border deals that are happening in that category, the category of ADCs. And clearly, again, Pfizer and Merck are the leaders in this space, and they are looking to consolidate their presence in this space and capture $31 billion of dollars by 2028, which will be a cornerstone of the growth of their cancer business units. And so clearly we expect to see other cross-border deals in this area by other big pharma who will try also to capture a little chunk of the $31 billion. Yeah, so I wanted to add this.
That's great. Thank you so much. Great. And then now maybe we're ready to talk a little bit about additional challenges. You already alluded to some, but Arijit, any additional challenges?
I can actually use that precursor of the world order changes that I was speaking about, with the challenges being featuring out of the geopolitical conflicts in the Ukraine and the tension in the Middle East. The micro challenges that are coming, and I did allude to that before. What I see is there is a strategy of diversification of the tech and clinical capital to enable geographic insourcing of materials, where more and more we are seeing that our clients are looking to do localization of their APIs and biosubstances and production, and to enable smaller plants, setting up smaller plants in locations which are more feasible in terms of resources, more feasible in terms of, again, supply chain, the entire supply chain route. You can mobilize them. And also the data laws for that particular country, the local data laws, which are more inducive and they are more fit for purpose for the company, right? And I've seen in our customers, they are looking to set up plants and quickly do commissioning and qualification of the instruments, clean room operations, and all that stuff. And coming from an IT company, we are seeing huge opportunity in commissioning and qualification of plants, where you do factory acceptance testing for vendors. You guys all know this. I'm like, you do the specifications and SOPs, creating training materials for factory workers, and then execution of those protocols as the instruments and factory equipments come into place. I do see that was a huge challenge before, but that is very, very fast getting into fruition with us, like service integrators such as Capgemini, working with our clients and getting that resolved. So that's one of the additional challenges that I've seen. The additional challenge that I've also seen when it comes to democratization of enabled technology like AI, today AI is more of a buzzword which is uh, concentrated in research mostly, where smaller work packets are actually generated out by big pharma. They are not yet democratizing AI into larger engagements, very large enterprise engagements yet. They are into more staff augmentation, if you may call it. They are looking to have one or two data scientists, a Python or an R developer coming in their research team and essentially work either in the research, toxicology, preclinical space, which essentially works in the safety element of the compounds, or mostly around biomarker determination and things like that. What is going to happen and what has not happened yet is the companies actually thinking of enlarging and scaling out. I hate to call it scaling out, it's not scale up, is to be able to move into an enterprise-wide AI adoption. And that's happening very, very fast. And I have been in talks with a number of our customers. In fact, we are hosting an event in a couple of days here in Boston, Massachusetts, where we are bringing in partners, we are bringing in our customers to be able to work in a synergistic model of how AI can not just help in molecule determination and development, how AI can also help in better trials, clinical trials, sourcing, patient mobilization, as well as how we write clinical protocols. How do we write randomized trials? And finally, how we can use AI, as I said even before, in dossier preparation. How fast can we create CMC module 1, 2, 3 documents using Gen AI, right? So that's a huge, huge leap towards the future that I see, which is going to solve one of the challenges today. And finally, one last point that I would like to allude into is a portion of this, which is very close to my heart, is labs, which is essentially wet labs, which generates the data, which is the motherhood and apple pie statement, where the data gets generated, both analytical and process data gets generated for quality, safety, and as well as all the stuff that is required for FDA submissions, right? So while our customers are moving from a reactive disease population and getting the folks to get tested and then create the therapies, the evolution is more proactive as we now go into healthy population, which is the word of tomorrow, and we get on healthy population, see what biomarkers can we generate from the healthy population so that we can beat the game by able to actually shorten the timeline of actual molecule determination and also production. While doing that, I do see a huge imperative and huge focus in labs, how the future of labs is going to change, how the data is captured in a lab from the instruments, how scheduling of analysis and assays are done in the labs, how the lab data once captured is tagged properly for future searches, how ontologies are created on those data. Ontologies is a scientific term where you can actually look at data and create their genealogy of where they came from and what are they going to achieve. The data ontologies are lacking, instinctively lacking today for lab data. So the players, not just the ISVs, the instrument services vendors, as I call them, as the industry calls them, as well as the consumers of these instruments, as well as the lab data suppliers, both in the world of reagents as well as consumables, they are all sitting together and they are constructively working in a pre-competitive alliance to be able to create standards of capturing this lab data so that they are better searchable and the insights are derived from them faster. So I wanted to actually throw that area. Yeah,
Thank you so much. So if I would rephrase your challenges, you already offered some solutions, but it seems you're a big advocate of reconfiguration 360 for the pharma industry, from soup to nuts. Thank you so much for your insights. I know you have to run, but we really appreciated your valuable insights. And now we're gonna move on to Kautar's opinion about the challenges and how companies can revise their digital strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Absolutely.
Ingrid. Thanks a lot.
Actually, the pharma industry has already committed, I think, over 5.5 billion to AI-related drug discovery partnerships. And it has done this because it needs to, as we say, guide its strategy, its R&D strategy. It needs to accelerate the drug discovery because there is a dryness in their pipeline. And most importantly, it needs to cut the costs and the risks related to the R&D. So this is the main driver. Definitely, we have seen an increase in the share of investments by VCs on the artificial intelligence and machine learning focused startups. So an increase in financing, increase the number of companies that are available. Pharma and also mid-sized companies have a need of cutting costs, of driving the R&D strategy. And so there were some marriages there, some deals, some big deals that we have seen. NVIDIA with Roche, Sanofi that has declared that is going to be the first AI-driven company. But I think when drawing all these partnerships, big pharma sometimes lacks the internal capabilities to assess the strength of the partner. Not all the time, because big pharma is also investing in its internal capabilities by bringing talent within. Although I am not a data scientist, but I think there are 4 criteria that I may suggest that pharma should look for in their potential partner. And these capabilities could be beyond a hybrid team, beyond having a scientist and a chemist and a biologist. You need to have a true hybrid team within the partner. And the partners also need to present the prospective predictions that they have made and the papers that they have published on these predictions. So this will reassure big pharma about the solidity and the robustness of the data. And to allude to the wet labs that my colleague and the other speaker has mentioned, the wet labs are also part of the capabilities that big pharma should look for in a partner, because the wet labs analyze substances and potential drugs on living organisms and not only
in vitro,
in vitro and mathematically, and not as by modelization. So in terms of capabilities, I would look for the wet labs existence, and I would favor that over the dry labs. I would look for a true hybrid team within the partner. I would look for the prospective predictions, and if whether it is published, that would be great. The other thing that would really reassure me as part of the pharma work when contracting a partnership is whether there are other partnerships, whether this company I am going to partner with has already contracted other partnerships, especially with a tech company. Of course, even with another biopharma company, that is great. But with a tech company, that has a higher weight, in my opinion. And I mean, in all this progress, it opens a big question to everyone, by the way, as for who will own the data, who will own the clinical data, because clinical data are the goal that everyone is searching right now. There is no perfect data set. The tech companies partner with big pharma because they want to train their models on the clinical data, but ultimately, who will own the data? Right? There is a big question mark here, and that will need to be answered. So that is for the challenges regarding AI. There are, of course, other challenges related to other therapy areas, particularly the cell therapy, and I would be very happy to develop these for you. So I mentioned that the allogeneic cell therapy is an area that is growing and expected to grow, and because it is making up for the limitations of the allogeneic cell therapies in terms of supply chain and cost, etc. But allogeneic cell therapies have also some challenges. So depending on the cell type that you use to manufacture the allogeneic cell therapy, whether you go for a CAR T or a CAR NK, there is the challenge of durability of response. There is the challenge of depth of response. So this needs to be addressed. There is also the challenge that is related to the scaling up and scaling out, and those terms were mentioned earlier. So manufacturing thousands of doses of cell therapies, meaning moving from the research to the commercialization and serving a big number of patients, requires the automation. Okay, so we go back to the technology. It requires the automation of the full downstream process of production of cell therapy. Finally, just to be consistent with all the areas that I have listed at the beginning of this webinar, I mentioned that radiopharmaceuticals are picking up and are a big trend right now. The issue, I mean, clearly we cannot challenge the commercial success of Pluvicto in prostate cancer. Pluvicto is the drug that is commercialized by Novartis. But the challenging area, or the challenging area faced by Pluvicto, is the supply, because one source, again, to scale up, you need to solve the problem of supply to make radiopharmaceuticals a mainstream oncology therapy. So yeah.
Great. We actually have a quick question from our audience for you in reference to something you mentioned. So regarding CAR T treatment modalities, do you want to comment on another major challenge, which are the FDA's black boxes? How do you think that will influence future development? How
Yeah.
courageous will companies be to continue to push through?
A very good question, and I am sure that it is being this question is raised because of the case reports that we have seen previously about the secondary malignancies by CAR-Ts. I think that it shouldn't be a big concern for the companies that are developing CAR-Ts in the relapse refractory oncology. However, it could be another story for other indications such as the autoimmune diseases, and we are seeing a lot of companies moving towards these indications such as diabetes and lupus. So yes, I would be a little bit cautious about the concerns of FDA in regarding the safety of CAR-Ts in the immunological space, but not in the relapse refractory oncology space.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wonderful insight. And Yamin, I know you already mentioned one challenge before that is major, but would you like to add any other challenge and your recommendation how enterprises can revise their strategy to address those challenges?
Yes, so I know, Ingrid, that in the key trends that I've covered, there were a lot of challenges, and that's true. There are still some more to add to that list, to be honest with you. I'm not going to go into the specifics as Kautar just did, but certainly in terms of the pharma industry challenges that they have to deal with is that most importantly, the growth gap that they are dealing with. That's one element. A second element is the late stage failures. I mean, what we have seen over the last year is a lot of phase 3 clinical failures. So that's very important. The third element that they are dealing with, and most of them are getting geared to do, is the loss of exclusivity. And all of those elements is meaning requires them to really review their strategy and review how they are going to be dealing with that in the near future, and how it's going to be impacting their innovation. The next thing is, as a result of that, what we are seeing too, and what is really, I mean, we are all humans. We have been in this industry for a long time, and we have all been part of that, is that we are seeing a lot more redundancies, job losses. I mean, as much as the big tech is making all those engineers redundant, we are seeing now a lot of employees within the pharmaceutical industry being made redundant, and it's it goes through different waves, and we've seen that, let's say, 10 years ago, and we are back into it now. So those are certainly some of the key challenges that the pharma industry is going through. And how can you deal with that? And that's going to be the next topic of the conversation, is very much increasing efficiency by refocusing on their strategy and implementing AI. But I will answer that when it will be my turn to speak.
Sure, thank you. So for the last round, Qatar, if you want to share, if I am the board of a big pharma company, or if I'm the CEO and you advise me how to revise my digital strategy to deal with some of these challenges, what would be the one thing you would advise me to do?
Include AI across all divisions, not only drug discovery and R&D, as I have extensively spoken about during this webinar, but also in manufacturing, also in commercialization. Make AI the backbone of the ways of working, because because this is the future.
Thank you. Yamina?
Okay, so now, obviously, going digital for a pharma company is not an option anymore. It is a requirement. So there are different approaches that a pharma can do. As Kauta was mentioning, you can do that fully internally. But what we are more and more seeing is the integration of the pharma and the tech industry together, each bringing their expertise to the table to enhance this this industry, and with the ultimate goal of bringing drugs, safer drugs to the market and quicker. So so far, the companies that were very advanced in AI and implementing it, like the Novartis and all the big ones, they were really introducing them within, introducing the technology within the manufacturing processes, making sure that AI was supporting, the processes, especially. Now, the technology and AI tech is facilitated earlier in the more and more earlier in the R&D process. So it's going to be really from early drug discovery, target identification to facilitate personalized medicines, and understanding the disease progression, the target activity, and especially one of the big focus where that is being implemented at the moment is within the clinical trials. How can you make those clinical trials that take years to take place and is a necessary step and is, it represents 60% of the R&D cost. So how can you make it better? How can you be better at patient segmentation? How can you be better at making sure that you've got results quicker? So we can see a huge increase in already in the timeline, a progression in the timelines in the clinical trials, but there's a lot more to be happening, and there's a lot more to be done, so that again, what Arjit was saying is that bench to bed is as effective as possible. And it's, yes, across the pharma industry, but also across our industry. I have taken AI classes over the last 5 years. I've been now working on that and implemented AI technology, implementing OpenAI within our systems to make it more efficient for us, but also efficient for our clients. And I have to say that some of the key recommendations I would give to any company is to start with AI tech, start with a small project, start with a very focused problem you are trying to solve, and then grow it. It's a trial and error kind of process, and it's very much a long-term, it has to be seen as a long-term endeavor. It cannot be seen as a short-term endeavor. It is just here, and it is here to be. We are lucky because we are at the inception of AI tech and enabling it within our environment. So we can make it what we want it to be. And certainly how I view it and is that it's a tool that is going to make us even more efficient rather than being scared of replacing us. It is what we call, what I want to call it, a co-pilot. That's how I say it.
Thank you. Well, thank you both, and also thank you to Arijit Chatterjee, who had to drop earlier. But this concludes our webinar section. What we also would like to invite all our audience is we will share a second section to this webinar where Yamina will highlight how her company has actually implemented AI and how her Spring platform is assisting companies that maybe do not have the talent in-house or do not have the resources at this time to develop the clinical intelligence required to accomplish some of the trends that we heard today. So thank you so much, Kautar and Yamina, for your insights. We really appreciated all your very important reflections and recommendations to leaders that wish to revise their digital strategy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.